Hello, campaigners. John Bose here, one of the co-hosts of the Campaign Rundown podcast, the podcast that's about all things election campaigns. Today I'm coming to talk to you about a basic campaign tip about GOTV coding, which is the 5-point scale that is used by all election campaigns to determine who is supporting them. It is one of the cornerstones of election process, so let's jump right into the tip. If you've ever worked on a political campaign, you know that GOTV coding is the cornerstone of all campaign activity. If you haven't worked on a campaign, I'm going to share with you the biggest secret there is about election campaigns. GOTV coding is the rating scale that's used to get out the vote, GOTV, on election day. Every single person that you make contact with is rated on a 1 through 5 scale based on the likelihood of the individual voting for you in the upcoming election. This scale is 1 through 5, with 1 representing supporters and 5 representing detractors. Anyone that is volunteering for your campaign, you want to make sure that they understand that accuracy on this scale is extremely important. If the volunteer is talking to a voter that has expressed support for the candidate and the volunteer gets the voter to actually say, yes, I will vote for your campaign, that is marked as a 1 in the database. On the other hand, if when interacting with a voter, the volunteer gets the voter to tell them that, no, I'm not supporting your candidate, I am supporting the opponent, you would mark them as a 5. Both of those reactions are hard-coded 1s or 5s. On the other hand, a large percentage of the population is going to fall into one of the other 3 categories. If a voter is expressing support for some of the issues the campaign has embraced and said that they like the candidate but has not said that they will vote for them, you will mark them as a 2. Now, this is important because the campaign can follow up with them on key issues to convince them to support the actual campaign. On the opposite end of the scale is the 4s. Anyone who expresses a opposition to the issues the campaign's running on or says that they like the opponent, you would mark as a 4. These people will require a lot more convincing in order to get on board with the campaign, so you want to categorize them. They haven't exactly committed to the opponent, so you may want to do some follow-up. On the other hand, the largest group is 3s, undecided. In general, the public has a life, and they don't usually pay attention to election campaigns until the last month. So it is more often than not that a voter will be in the undecided category, the 3, than there'll be any of the other 4 categories. Walking through the scale, the campaign gives a volunteer a list of 5 people to call. The first person to call is Billy. The volunteer talks to him and finds out that Billy is a huge supporter of the candidate and is excited to vote for him in the upcoming election. Tells the volunteer, yes, you can definitely count on my vote. Billy would be marked as a 1 in a database. The second person they call is Jill, and they talk to Jill for a little bit and find out that Jill is on the same page with a lot of the issues the candidate is running on, but has not heard of the candidate and wants more information about them. You would mark Jill as a 2, leaning towards the candidate. Next person they call is Wendy. Wendy is a working mother that has a full-time job. Her and her husband are very active in the community, but haven't had a chance to take a look at the candidates. Expressed some interest in some of the issues the candidate is supporting, but has not committed either way to any candidate. This is marked as a 3, undecided. You would want to make sure that both Jill and Wendy get follow-up mailers to express where the candidate stands on issues. And definitely the campaign will be following up with these 2 in later parts of the outreach effort. Next on the list is Tom. They call up Tom and they find out that Tom has not made a decision yet, but does not align with a lot of the issues the candidate is running on. And while does not have an actual knowledge of the candidate, does know a few of the other candidates and likes them but hasn't committed to them. Tom is marked as a 4 in the database. The campaign probably will not follow up with him, but you want to keep track of the fact that he has not actually committed to your opponent. Next on the list is Jane. And Jane has said point blank that she is supporting the other candidate, her and entire family. You would mark Jane as a 5, but don't mark the family as a 5, mark him as a 4 because you have not actually talked to the other members of the household. So once again, looking at the list, 1 is Billy, who is supporting our candidate. 2 is Jill, who is leaning towards our candidate. 3 is Wendy, who is undecided and has not committed any direction. 4 is Tom, who is aligning himself with the opponent on issues and actually knows the other candidate. And 5 is Jane, who has come out and said that they are supporting the other side. It's important to stress to your volunteers that it is incredibly important to be as accurate as possible when recording the level of support each individual voter has for the campaign. A 1 is as good as a 5. Anyone who has been identified as a supporter of the campaign will be immediately moved into the campaign's outreach effort, which will seek to engage the voter and get them more involved with the campaign, making sure that they vote on election day for the campaign. Anyone marked as a 2 or 3 will go into the follow-up category, where the campaign will target them with information to try to convince them to support the campaign and become a 1 before election day. 4s and 5s are removed from the list and will not be contacted at the campaign. This is very important to stress, that if somebody is not supporting the campaign, you need to report it so that the campaign will not accidentally remind this individual to vote and will not waste resources and money trying to reach out to them to get them to vote. Once again, a 1 is a supporter, a 2 is leaning towards, 3 is undecided, 4 is leaning away, 5 is not supporting. It is just as important for the campaign to know who is not supporting them as it is for the people who are supporting. The GOTV coding system is the cornerstone of all election campaign activity. This scale determines how many resources are going to what efforts, so it is important to make sure it is as accurate as possible. Please, if you have time, check out the other campaign tips that focus on GOTV, on how to implement it and how to use it on election day.